In this last lesson, we're going to explore the Mastercam Simulator so we can see the toolpath motion on an actual simulated machine. To start, we'll select all the toolpaths, and under the Machine section, we'll go right into Simulate. So as you see, when the part comes in, it's on a machine, and if I position it properly, you'll see that this is a default 3-axis mill, and we can see our vise and our stock already set up. And if I hit play, you can see the motion of the toolpath with respect to the motion of the machine. So this is great if you have additional items on your machine that you want to check for collision against. Now it's important to note that this is not G-code simulation. It's very similar to our backplot and verify motion. However, it does give you another option for simulation. So I'm going to close the Mastercam Simulator and look at some of our options within the Toolpaths Manager. So if I go down to the Toolpaths Manager, you'll notice we have simulator options. And we saw before how we decided to choose the vise on level 105 as our fixture. Well, we can also display a specific stock to be used in the simulation process. Currently, we have our stock setup, which is just that block to be used. I like to choose a stock model instead. So we're going to create a stock model. And a stock model is a graphical or CAD version of your part after a machining process has been applied to it. So I have my red insertion arrow right here. I'm going to create a stock model after this first toolpath was used. So on the Toolpaths tab, I'll click on Stock Model, and we'll call this After Dynamic Roughing. And for the initial stock shape, I'm going to choose the stock setup. So that's the rectangular shape that I'm going to start with. And then I will apply to it a source operation, which is that dynamic toolpath we just saw up here. And then the result will be a stock model that looks like a CAD model that shows the end result of after that toolpath was applied to it. So this stock model is what we're going to use in the simulator. So in our simulator options here, I'm going to choose the stock to be a stock model, and it's going to be called After Dynamic Roughing. So now if we select various toolpaths, specifically the ones after the stock model, we can simulate that in either the simulator or just in Verify. In the process that we'll start with will be the stock model. So as you can see, our stock model is presented here because this is going to be what we start with. And if I step through it, we'll see that we're creating that circle mill hole there, and we paused because we're still at a stop condition. We'll hit play and we'll create the next operation. So using the stock model as part of your simulation is a really good way of creating an accurate representation of your toolpath motion. So in summary, we have backplot, verify, and simulation. Backplot I'd like to consider to be your wireframe toolpath simulation. Verify is your material removal, and then simulation includes the machine itself. And one last thing to discuss is how to actually set up this machine. Well, if we go back to Mastercam, you'll notice in the Simulator tab, we have a pull-down menu for simulator options. And then the last tab here, we can choose exactly the machine we want to simulate. And we can also choose the position. So in some cases, you may need to translate the part in X, Y, or Z to get it to represent the proper location on your machine.